Hi, I'm Ann Gannon, and welcome to my podcast, The Franchise Accelerator. As the founder of the Largo Group, I have provided accounting services with a specialty in the hospitality industry over the last decade. I have prided myself on finding a way to work with my clients, not just where their businesses are today, but working with them to scale. What I've realized over the course of this work, this mission, is that the common challenge for business owners is how to scale. How can you go from one location to many locations if there's just you? This is why we've started the Franchise Accelerator, because inside you is a great idea that can scale. And with the right tools, the right techniques, you too can create a franchise, a brand that's more than just you grinding it out, working 80 hours a week, and sacrificing for your business. You can create a brand that can stand alone and can truly create financial wealth for your family. I'm so excited to be a part of your journey, and I look forward to being with you every week as we join on this adventure together. Welcome to our episode. We are so excited today to be joined by Jim Laub, the founder of restaurantowner.com. Jim, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, sure, Ian. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes. So I'm sure any independent restaurant owner out there knows of restaurantowner.com. I mean, I think you guys do.
So.
I truly think you do so much good in the world and provide such a lifeline of information. Talk to us a little bit about how you got started. Like, how did that come to be?
Yeah, as we were talking just a few minutes ago, I started my career as a CPA. Well, even before that, though, I worked in restaurant through high school and college, was a bartender, server, did it. Probably a third of the population kind of took that route at some point, growing up in their career. But I got an accounting degree and I went to work for a large public accounting firm. And after 2 years, I took a job with one of our clients, which was a 7-unit barbecue restaurant chain. Oh. So I was hired as the controller. I did that for about 3 or 4 years. There was a buyout of a part of the company by a larger organization, large franchisee of Burger King. And I stayed with the original owner, developer of the concept, and there wasn't enough for me to do in terms of CPA accounting work. So I went into operations for a few years. So I learned about operations, and then I thought I knew everything there was to know about the restaurant business and accounting. So I opened up my own accounting practice, and I did primarily consulting and financial officer type work for small independent restaurants. Okay. So I did that about 12, 13 years. And then I started doing speaking and training to people in the restaurant business on controls and accounting, restaurant accounting and things of that nature. And I parlayed that into restaurantowner.com in kind of the latter 90s. And I got the domain restaurantowner.com and slowly built up content on the website. And one day somebody said, why are you giving all this stuff away on your website? And so I turned it into a subscription membership website. So I actually made my first, few $100s back in 1998. Wow. It doesn't look anything like it does now, of course. But yeah, and through the years, we've improved it, enhanced it, got more content. I've got a team of people working with me now. So it's been a great ride. I mean, we've had ups and downs, but I love this industry and I love the resiliency and the content of the character of independent restaurant operators. They truly are the best people in the world to work with and to deal with, as you well know. They're so deserving. They're so smart and energetic, and the vast majority of them really love serving people. They love their employees, and not to say it doesn't have challenges. I mean, we were talking about that earlier, but it's been a joy and a privilege to work with so many great people in the industry.
Yes. And it's amazing that I had no idea you were a CPA prior to today. But it's amazing because your content is so detail oriented. I mean, it really provides so much to restaurant owners. How do you, I guess, move your content forward or kind of think about things that they might need? Because I feel like you guys are always coming up with, new courses, new videos.
Yeah, we try to keep our ear real close to what our members are talking about, particularly on the discussion forum. And we know enough of them now. We've kind of got a solid cadre of folks that at least I speak to on a regular basis to see kind of how their world is going. But a lot of it, Ian, just boils down to the basics, and you kind of update them for, how they're relevant today in terms of, reporting and systems. And this business really gets back to basics. If operators do the basics really, really well, they're probably ahead of 70-80% of their competition, just by doing that. Business, I like to say, is all about creating experiences, creating the guest experience. And guests, more than anything else, they want consistency. McDonald's has proven that. And also today, it's all about the employee experience as well. We're so labor challenged today that you've got to create an environment and a culture where people want to hang out, and they're motivated to do not just, the minimum to get a paycheck, but to motivate them to want to do a good job. And in the best cultures out there, people want to do their best. So if you can create a culture like that, and we spend a lot of time now talking about culture. In the last 5 years, that's become one of the biggest topics that we try to train and develop people on. Yeah, because it is so important. Yeah.
Yes. And I feel like sometimes people don't realize when they're entering into the restaurant world how different it is to be an independent owner versus a chain owner. And I think you're right to say that it sometimes as an independent, you forget about that piece because you really are developing this internal culture as much as your brand or other things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how did you decide to kind of go after or help the independent? Was it just that you saw there was kind of a greater need, or just, like us, I love the independent owner?
Well, yeah, it was just, that's where my accounting practice started, because I didn't really have anything to offer the larger companies. And when I started out, they just needed help in the financial area. Yeah. They did. They didn't have P&Ls. Many of them, they never took a physical inventory. Yeah. They never really knew what their food cost was and stuff. But back then you could kind of, it was easier from the standpoint. A lot of them had great sales, but the problem was they weren't making any money. They were making money, but they weren't making as much as they could be making if they had some controls in place. So I saw a lot of opportunity there. That's what my focus was. Yeah. Food cost, labor cost, prime cost. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Three main.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, how do you feel technology has changed the restaurant industry of the last 5 years or so?
Yeah, a ton. And it's been on steroids the last 2.5 years. Yeah, 2.5 years. Yeah. And that's one of the things we're trying to get better at in terms of exposing our membership to the new technology. Because the thing about an independent, that the chains have the big advantages because they have those specialists many times on staff that can spend the time to evaluate, implement all this sort of thing. And with all the options out there in terms of apps and different types of systems and pointers, just in the whole integration, getting them to work together and stuff, it gets very, very complex quickly, as if independent operators don't have enough to do already. So we see that as one of our big initiatives for this year. We've got a really good technology writer. Well, he's actually in the business, but he's got a great, mindset, point of view with respect to technology for independents. And he's going to start writing for the magazine. And we plan on doing some webinars and some programs with him throughout the year, this year. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's so worthwhile because I feel like what we see is the technology is great, but I think what helps is, some of your spreadsheets or the old school, tools can help you make sure the technology is right. Because sometimes it's not right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think sometimes we assume it's okay. And there's, I have one client who actually has a full-time, one of his managers is just IT.
Yeah.
Which is,
I don't doubt. Yeah.
You wouldn't have seen that 5 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it is.
With all the online ordering and the, phone apps to help for marketing and to help people do, all kinds of ordering applications. And you got to have that now because people, they get that with the when they deal with the chains. So the independents have to kind of move along with that, at least to some degree. Yeah.
But I think it's still good to remind like so the owner to still check those three numbers that they make sense, because sometimes they don't.
Right. Yeah.
Now, talk us through COVID. Obviously, it was a crazy time, and you guys were right in the thick of it. What was it like to have gone through COVID as part of the restaurant industry?
Even though we might think that it was challenging for us, I think the worst part of COVID was seeing how our members and people in the industry were just, it's like having the rug pulled out from under you for nothing that you did. Yeah, it was just absolutely, it just hurts. I felt so much pain for the people that were on the front lines dealing with it, not having any income come in or having to totally re-engineer your business model virtually overnight. And as I said earlier, the resiliency of the independent operators was just absolutely astounding. I heard stories about some people actually, and you've probably heard this too, they slept in their restaurants some nights. They were so busy changing things and re-engineering their whole model and things. So what we did is we tried to find out what was working, what people were doing, how they were responding. And I remember, I think one week we had we probably had four webinars, and we were just kind of gathering information, talking to people, trying to find out best practices. And I think the latter part of March, April, and into May, I don't think Joe and I hadn't worked that hard ever. I don't think ever.
Yeah. But what you did was so amazing, because you really were a lifeline, I think, to a lot of people out there, because it was so hard to get information.
Yeah. Well, and then a lot of other people stepped up too. So the Restaurant Association, I know the Texas Restaurant Association was absolutely amazing. And a lot of the distributors and also some of the software providers, point of sale providers started stepping up and kind of doing a lot of the things that we were doing. So it was great to see the outpouring of support and assistance that that started coming on the scene at that time.
Yeah. And what are you guys seeing now? Because I've had, again, I think what's going on now with the, supply chain still and inflation. I've had people say in the last few weeks that they feel like this is worse than COVID.
Wow.
Just because of
I
how.
I hadn't heard that, but geez. Wow.
I know. And it seems to be all of a sudden kind of people getting really, frustrated again and not knowing, I think it's a crazy time still for the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of brings into saying that, it is good to stay educated and do the things that you can control, and the associations, because I feel like sometimes people forget that these resources are there and these associations are there. But I think it proves the value of continuing education. Yeah,
absolutely. And the thing, I guess, that I guess we all need to keep kind of in perspective is what's going on today as far as labor and the cost of product, availability of product. It affects everybody.
Yeah.
So everybody's kind of at the same disadvantage. And the people that really keep their nose to the grindstone and figure out how to handle and solve some of those issues, or at least make the best of them and mitigate the damage, they're going to be the survivors, because we all know that in the United States anyway, eating out is just ingrained. It's part of our DNA. It's ingrained in us right now, and people are always going to have to eat, and very few people cook anymore. And we like the experience. Look at how badly we all miss the experience of going out to our favorite restaurant, And you look around restaurants today, and people they're out there having fun again. We're not having to wear the mask like we used to. Of course, we got a break when we got in the restaurant, but I just can't help but think that the future is going to be bright for those who stick with it. And is there going to be attrition? Probably. Okay. But I think I'm trying to stay optimistic about it, Yeah. But there are challenges today. I totally agree.
No, and I agree. I think that's also having, I started accounting in 2007. So I think seeing some of the previous downturns, I agree with you that, if you can stick with it, there's a point where your competition goes away or that goes down and there's opportunity.
Yeah. And with COVID hit, it took a lot of the kind of the marginal operators with it at that point. Yeah. Yeah. So the folks that are left today, they're survivors. They've got something to be proud of. Yeah. Sure. There was some support, but it was needed,
Yes.
So we got to stay optimistic and we're here for the long haul. And I know you are too, and you're committed to the industry. Yeah. And I just want to take my hat off to you. Part of the effectiveness of all we were doing back in March and April and May, you were a big part of that because you were on top of what was going on in terms of the relief at the federal level and also at the state levels. And you really helped us get the word out at that time. So you did a marvelous job.
No, thank you. Yeah. But I agree with you. I think it was just, it was great to see everybody work together and kind of come to the table with what they could and, commit to the industry to say, we're all going to get out of this.
Exactly.
And I feel like the same, is just still true now is, like you said, it's not going to be easy, but I think it's still worth the fight. And
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So talk to us about how you stay positive, because it is hard sometimes to stay positive. So how do you keep your, positive mindset?
Well, when you get to be my age, things go in cycles, and we had some really tough times in Houston back in the 80s. Probably before you were even born, but when the oil industry collapsed and I lost a good portion of my clients. I was practicing on my own at that time. And some of the restaurants, some of my clients went out of business and it was just really, really rough. But, everything tends to go in a cycle and there are things to learn when things are really tough. And, I believe that a lot of life is about resiliency, having faith, and just asking yourself, well, what can I learn at this time of my life in this situation? And I tell you what, hard times really do make us better people if we respond the right way. You know, it really does. It builds character and resolve, and just gives us the opportunity to appreciate when times are really good. Yes. And I tell you what, Ann, right now we have to look no further than Ukraine to realize that we got it pretty darn good compared to a lot of people out there. I cannot imagine. Not even imagine what those people are going through. So, so anyway, that to me kind of helps put things in perspective.
Well, and I agree. And I feel like too, and that's why I think mindset is so important. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think it's an important message for everybody to realize that, there's things we can control in every situation and things we can't. Right. But if you think about 2020, people, I think, don't give themselves enough credit, especially restaurant owners. Because yes, it's terrible that your chicken might go up 30%, but you had 5 weeks where you had zero sales, and no government help, because the government help really didn't come until the end of April.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So many people didn't even have a chance to get that. Yeah.
So if you made it for 5 weeks with zero sales and found a way, that I think this is, there's a way to overcome it, and it's not going to be fun, but that was way worse than.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. And you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know how long it was going to last. You were just in unknown, the uncertainty.
And you didn't really, especially thinking then, you didn't even really know that the government was going to come up with PPP. It's easy to look back now and be like, oh, it was great and PPP did its job. But there were weeks you had no idea if there would be anything.
Yes. Yeah.
And people found a way, which was amazing to me.
Yeah.
That they found, we had people out on hot dog carts. And, delivering on their own. It was. Yeah. But they did it.
And some of the makeshift curbside service and how people were able to it was the word pivot. I don't like to use that word anymore because I've heard it so much.
So true.
So cliche. Yeah.
But no, I agree. I think it is like a cycle, but I hope people remember how hard that was, because it's good to see what you were able to do.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, cool. So is there anything like, what is your goal for a restaurant owner over the next couple of years? What do you guys have on the horizon?
Well, about 2.5 years ago, we started working on a learning system. So instead of restaurantowner.com being specifically for owners right now, we have a lot of courses and training videos that are for managers, for management development, on leadership, some basic management types of courses, food cost control, menu engineering, menu costing, guest experience, hospitality, customer service. So, and it's for hourly employees as well.
Oh, wow.
So in other words, we have apps that, you can put on people's phones. You can assign courses, you can assign training videos, you can see the progress that they've made. We even have a membership package where you can upload your own content. So if you're a multi-unit, say, or you have a big single unit operation and you want to tell everybody about your culture, your history, or whatever, you could have that, the owner could have that recorded, and that could be part of the training program that everybody sees when they join. So you could have menu, how to, everybody needs to learn about the menu. So you could have all your menu training, a good portion of it anyway, on the phone. So,
oh, wow.
So that's really what we're working on. We're working very diligently on that, of adding more content and making the app easier to use and things of that nature. So that's where I see our future anyway, is really in the training part. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's a great, I feel like that's so needed and such a great path to go.
People are starting to figure, even independent, the chains have had that for quite a while, and they've, I guess, proven the concept, and that it's something that's really valuable in terms of the employee experience. And good employees, they want to learn, they want to grow, and and you got to make people feel competent, because if they don't feel competent in front of the guest, they're not going to be confident in themselves. And people want to feel confident, and if they don't, they'll leave and go to an employer that will give them the training to make them feel competent. Yeah.
Right. So, and with time, that sounds like something that would drastically cut the time it would take.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Of other employees and things like that, exactly. Which is great.
Yeah. Because there's one thing about the younger generation. They, when you hire people, you gotta, that first day, that first hour, it has to impressive, because if they get overwhelmed, or if they think that, I'm just standing here, or they don't get a good feel, they can be gone and get another job tomorrow. So you got to really get people spooled up, integrated into their system, show that you care, show that you're competent, you're organized, you've got a path for them right off the bat. And because you can't afford to have them leave. Yeah.
I know. But as much grief as we give the next generation, because, we all do a little bit, they love to eat out.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh,
they are not going to cook.
Right.
So,
right.
For the sake of the industry, that's a really good thing, because as bad as it gets, I don't think they're cutting eating out anytime soon. So
that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a great discussion.
It's been a pleasure. It's been fun. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me. And man, this is exciting that you're doing this. Yeah. Wish you all the best with it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ann.